For another deep dive.
Yeah.
This time, we are going to be looking at building character with Dr. Myles Munroe.
Okay.
And for this one, we're using a video from the Munroe Global channel on YouTube.
Okay.
And just to kind of give you an idea of where this is going,
Yeah.
Dr. Munroe uses a very interesting metaphor of a statue to describe what character is.
Right.
So I'm very curious to see where this goes.
Yeah. That's a really great way to think about it because, when you think about a statue, it's so solid and unchanging.
Right.
And it stands firm no matter, what the weather is doing or even what people do to it.
Yeah.
He even uses these examples of like Queen Victoria's statue in the Bahamas
Oh.
and Winston Churchill's statue in London.
Okay.
And people might like vandalize them or throw things at them.
Right.
But the statues themselves, they just remain unfazed.
Yeah, it's a very powerful image to think about. And I think, we think about character. We want that. We want that to be unshakable in the face of adversity. But the question is, how do we actually build that kind of resilience?
Right. Well, he points out that so often we're, always trying to like avoid challenges and difficulties.
Yeah.
But he actually says that those very trials are the key to building a really strong character.
Okay.
And he talks about how in the Bible it talks about, enduring trials produces perseverance, and then that leads to hope.
Right.
But I think even if you're not coming at it from like a religious perspective, you can see that idea that overcoming obstacles just makes you stronger.
It's like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Right, exactly.
But it seems like Dr. Munroe takes it a step further than that.
Yeah.
Like he's not just saying survive the challenges, but he's saying like embrace them, maybe even like rejoice in them.
Yes, and that's where I think it gets really interesting.
Right.
He's not saying that you should enjoy pain or hardship.
Right.
But what he is saying is that we should see those experiences as opportunities to grow and refine yourself.
Okay.
It's almost like, a blacksmith forging a sword. The intense heat and like hammering.
Right.
That's what shapes the metal into a strong and resilient blade.
So the trials that we face in our lives are like the fire and the hammer.
Yeah.
That's what shapes our character into something stronger and more resilient.
Exactly.
But I guess that kind of makes me think,
Yeah.
does that put a lot of pressure on us then to handle every single challenge that comes our way perfectly?
Right.
Like what if we stumble or make mistakes along the way?
That's a really good question. And, he acknowledges that we are not going to be perfect.
Okay.
He says it's not about never failing. It's about learning from the mistakes.
Okay.
Using those experiences to just kind of refine your character.
Okay.
And he even talks about, facing setbacks in his own ministry to illustrate that point.
So it's really about having that grit, that determination to keep going even when things are hard.
Yeah.
And to learn from our failures instead of just letting them defeat us.
Exactly. And that brings us to another key aspect of this whole character building thing.
Okay.
And that's trust.
Okay.
Because Dr. Munroe, he argues that, trust is built over time through your consistent actions and a proven track record of being able to overcome challenges.
He even uses that example of a Rolex watch.
Yes.
And how, we trust a Rolex.
Right.
Because it's been tested in these extreme conditions.
Exactly.
And it's proven its reliability over and over again.
Right.
It's like we pay a premium for that watch, not just because of the way it looks or, how it's made.
Yeah.
But because of that assurance that it's been through all these tests and it's still ticking.
Exactly. It's a symbol of trustworthiness.
Right.
Because it has a history of being reliable.
I like that.
Yeah. So that brings us to the idea of integrity, which Dr. Munroe sees as a cornerstone of character.
Okay.
And, it's not just about being honest.
Yeah.
It's about being whole, being integrated.
Okay.
He even uses the word holy to describe this.
Oh, wow.
And he's not talking about religious piety here.
Right.
He's talking about aligning your inner self with your outer actions.
Yeah.
What you say, what you do,
right,
who you are, it all lines up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think we see so many examples of people, particularly in the public eye, where their words and their actions just don't match up.
Exactly.
And it makes it really hard to trust them.
Yeah, he even uses this phrase schizophrenic leadership.
Oh, wow.
To describe that disconnect between words and actions.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And he uses Bill Clinton as an example.
Right.
Of someone who, despite, his successes in politics, ultimately lacked integrity because of some of the things that were going on in his personal life. That's a pretty bold statement.
It is.
But it makes you think about how important it is to just be genuine, to be the same person in every situation,
Yeah.
not putting on a different face depending on who you're with.
Right. And it goes back to that whole thing about trust.
Yeah.
Like, how can you trust someone if they're not consistent?
Exactly.
If their words don't match what they do?
Right.
Dr. Munroe argues that true leadership requires integrity as like the foundation.
Okay.
And, he also brings in this really fascinating point about how God demonstrates trust.
Oh, okay.
He says that when God asks someone to trust him,
Yeah.
there's always like a credit list,
Okay.
a track record of his actions to back it up.
So it's not just blind faith.
Right, exactly.
He's given reasons to trust him.
Right. He uses the example of, God reminding the Israelites about how he delivered them from Egypt.
Okay.
And how he parted the Red Sea. Like,
Right.
it's a resume
Yeah.
showing his reliability.
Okay.
And then he challenges us to consider, what's our own credit list as leaders?
Oh, that's good.
What have we done to earn people's trust?
Right.
Have we shown that consistency, that integrity over time?
It's like you can't just demand trust.
Exactly.
You have to earn it.
Yeah.
You have to show people why they should trust you. Through what you've done, through your track record,
Right.
through your ability to keep your word and to come through during tough times.
He even uses this funny example about, pastors asking for offerings.
Okay.
He suggests that, instead of just asking for money, they should present like a credit list
Okay.
of their ministry's accomplishments.
I like that.
It's a funny image.
Yeah.
But it really drives home the point.
It's about demonstrating that you're trustworthy,
Yeah.
not just expecting it. And he talks about how, true leaders, they don't change with fame or fortune.
Right.
They remain grounded and consistent.
Yeah. It's a good reminder for all of us.
Yeah.
Not just those in like formal leadership positions.
Right.
He emphasizes that, true character that shines through during the tough times.
Okay.
And he talks about, his own experiences with setbacks and challenges and how those experiences have actually strengthened his resolve.
Okay.
He even uses this phrase, enjoy the storm.
Enjoy this storm.
Yeah, it sounds a bit counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But what he's saying is, we should actually see these challenges as opportunities for growth and purification.
So it goes back to that idea of the fire and the hammer.
Right.
You need that heat,
Exactly.
that pressure to really refine and strengthen character.
And he tells the story about a pastor who had to move out of his church building without having a new location lined up.
Oh, wow.
And, instead of panicking, Dr. Munroe advised him to trust God.
Okay.
And see it as an opportunity to really show his faith and resilience. He even compares these trials to the refining process of a sculptor, like chiseling away at this block of stone to reveal this beautiful statue within.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah. And he connects it back to that biblical story of Job.
Okay.
Where God allows Satan to test Job's faith.
Right.
The point is that these tests aren't meant to break us.
Yeah.
They're meant to reveal the true depth of our character.
It's a totally different way of looking at challenges.
It is.
It's not about seeking comfort or avoiding difficulty.
Right.
It's about embracing those tough times as opportunities to grow and become more trustworthy.
And he even goes further.
Okay.
Suggesting that sometimes, those people who challenge us the most, the ones who friction in our lives, they might actually be playing a crucial role in our character development.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's like those difficult people, they're not there to just make our lives miserable.
Right.
They're actually there to help us grow
Yeah.
in ways that we wouldn't otherwise. So those difficult people, maybe they're not there to make our lives miserable. Maybe they're there to help us grow in ways we wouldn't otherwise.
Exactly. And, he even suggests that we shouldn't always see conflict as a negative thing.
Okay.
It could actually be a chance to look inward and identify areas where we need to grow and refine our character.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
But I also think that there are times when we need to just let go of relationships that are no longer serving us.
Absolutely. He talks about that. The importance of releasing relationships that are holding us back and making space for new connections that align with our, evolving character.
Yeah.
Sometimes people come into our lives for a season.
Right.
And when they leave, it can be a good thing.
Okay.
It can actually help us grow.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like, you just grow apart from people.
Right.
And that's okay.
It's natural.
It's natural. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess, what does all of this mean for us? What's the takeaway for listeners who are on their own journey of developing their character?
Well, he leaves us with this really powerful challenge.
Okay.
He asks us to like really reflect on our own lives
Mm-hmm.
and ask ourselves, are we really letting ourselves be shaped by our trials?
Okay.
Are we developing that character that's necessary for trust and leadership?
Mm-hmm.
And, remembering that this is a journey.
Right.
It's not a destination.
Not always growing.
Exactly. We have to be steadfast in the face of adversity.
Okay.
Knowing that, each challenge that we overcome is just refining us.
Right.
And making us more trustworthy.
So it's not about becoming like some kind of unfeeling statue that's devoid of emotion.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating that inner strength and resilience that can
on.
help us to really weather those storms of life and remain true to our values and inspire trust in other people.
And, recognizing that those challenges, they're not meant to break us.
Yeah.
They're meant to shape us into like the best versions of ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Dr. Munroe's wisdom on building character,
Yeah.
I just want to leave you with this thought.
Okay.
How are you being shaped by the challenges in your own life?
Mm.
Are you letting them define you, or are you using them to refine you?
That's a great question.
Are you building that kind of character that will make you a more trustworthy and impactful person in the world?
It's something to think about. Remember this journey of character development.
Yeah.
It's ongoing. So,
Yeah.
Embrace those challenges, learn from your experiences,
Right.
and just strive to become the kind of leader that you would want to follow.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
I think that's a great place to leave it.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.